On Friday, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin announced updated policies concerning transgender school mandates put in place by his predecessor. Those mandates permitted schools to withhold a student's gender transition from parents for privacy reasons. Joining us to discuss the change and the future of this transgender debate in schools is the Secretary of Education of Virginia, Aimee Guidera. Thank you so much for being here, Ms. Secretary. Your department released a new policy on Friday that states that Virginia's Department of Education, quote, fully acknowledges the rights of parents to exercise their fundamental rights granted by the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution to direct the care, upbringing, and education of their children. Why has Virginia's Department of Education issued this new model of policies for schools? And what does the change, or what does it change rather, from the previous administration?
So the bottom line is parents matter. As you said, this is in statute. It's ensconced not only in the U.S. Constitution, but in the law of Virginia, that parents have rights to make decisions about their child's well-being, their upbringing, and their health. And the former policy that was put in place in 2021 by Governor Northam's administration was not aligned with those laws and statutes and did not recognize the vital role that parents play in students' lives. And by law, there was a statute that was put into place in 2020 that mandated that the Department of Education put forth these policies. The first round of these policies was last year with Governor Northam. And these policies not only didn't recognize parents' rights, they went out of their way to say that teachers and schools should keep information from parents. And basically went against that spirit of the law of parents being informed and engaged in their parents' information. And so as a result, the Youngkin administration made decisions that we were going to replace that policy. And to be blunt, this policy just wasn't working. We know that only 13 of our 132 school divisions had actually adopted this policy or a policy like it because it just wasn't tenable and it was out of step with just common sense and what the values of these school divisions are. And also, it was confusing and was disruptive to schools. And so we tried to amend all of that and to address those concerns.
Yeah, and the Northam administration, their policy basically said that regardless of gender identity, kids had to be acknowledged by their pronouns or their chosen names. And those guidelines came after you mentioned the legislature passed a law in 2020 that demanded that your state's Department of Education develop model policies, a template for schools to follow. I want to read a little bit from the Northam policies. It said, protection of student privacy and the confidentiality of sensitive information was paramount. How is it possible that a teacher or a school would be allowed to legally withhold information from a parent regarding their child wanting to be called a different name or use a pronoun that didn't correspond to their sex, Ms. Secretary?
So I have to tell you, as a mom, I find it just unbelievable that any school division would ever think that this was the right thing to do, or any governor's office. You know, as a mom, I want to be informed with everything that's happening in my children's lives. I want to work in partnership with my student, with my children, with my children's teachers, and with the school, and have it be a partnership. And when the piece you just read, when the message is, not only do we not value parents' input, but we are purposely going to tell our teachers to not tell teachers things, especially around something as important as a child's identity and a child's development. Those are the conversations and the points in a child's life when a parent must be most engaged. If my child was dealing with a decision as big as changing her identity, you bet I want to be informed. You bet I want to work in partnership with open communication with the school. And I want to be there for my child and know what's going on. And it's incredible that the policy was to keep parents in the dark.
Secretary Guidera, some advocates say that these new policies, your new policies, are unenforceable and that the courts will strike them down because they appear to violate state and federal law. Employment and Civil Rights Attorney Joshua Ehrlich told the Washington Post this: Governor Youngkin is trying to pick a political fight by attacking trans students, but his model policies are in conflict with recent court rulings. Discrimination against transgender individuals is illegal discrimination on the basis of sex. Your response, and where do you see this debate going, both in your state and on the federal level?
So I encourage all of your viewers and everyone to take a look and read the guidance and to read not just the model policy that came out of it, but all of the background and the materials. There are pages of legal documents and legal resources that we consulted to back up this policy. We worked with countless lawyers to make sure that everything in this policy is backed up by the law and backed up by research about the importance of having good communication and parent engagement in our schools and parent partnership with teachers. Mm-hmm. We know that parents matter. The rights of parents to be engaged, to be informed, and to be part of the decision making, and the rights to make these decisions for their children and to help nurture and instill values in them. Those are rights that are ensconced in both federal and in state law, and that we think we have a very strong case to be made for parents are the first and most important teachers of students. And that we are very clear that we think we're on the right side of the law of this, and we're on the right side and in touch with what common sense says and what every parent knows, which is that they know best for what's in the best interest of their children, and they want to be part of those decisions. They need to be informed partners.
Yeah. Madam Secretary, according to Equality Virginia, which is an LGBTQ advocacy group, they claim about 10% of Virginia school boards implemented those controversial Northam rules for how schools should educate transgender students. As the Secretary of Education in Virginia and a parent, how did parents receive this policy, those that were subject to the Northam policy? Did you hear from those parents?
We did. We actually received, so first of all, we will work closely to work with school divisions to help them understand this policy. We want to work in partnership. We want to listen. We want to work together to have people understand this. But the goal of this policy is to treat everyone with respect and with dignity. And every single child has a right to go to school in an environment, in a vibrant learning environment in which they are welcomed, they feel supported, and they're treated with respect and dignity. And that's at the heart of this. And what we heard from parents, and that we received copies of trainings that were being done in some of our school divisions that literally said, you cannot tell parents about things when children are thinking about transgendering. That just basically gets at the heart of everything we know is right about building a community, building a school culture in which there is trust, in which there is a sense of belonging and a sense of partnership between school and home. And we know from what we've heard from parents and what we've heard from teachers, too, who weren't comfortable with this policy and let us know that this was not the kind of environment that they wanted to teach in as well. So we are also hearing lots of wonderful things and reinforcing things. I know the media likes to pick up on all of the controversies in the school divisions that are saying that they do not endorse this new policy. But we're also hearing from many, many school divisions that are thanking us for bringing clarity, for helping them to have very clear guidance about how they can enforce this policy and ensure that they are creating an environment in which all students are welcome, in which we are embracing all students and treating them with dignity and with respect, and that we, again, are reinforcing the important partnership among students, parents, and teachers.
The ACLU of Virginia has said that your new policies would worsen the already high rates of self-harm and suicide among these LGBT students. They tweeted the following: "We are appalled by the Youngkin administration's overhaul of key protections of transgender students in public schools." Your thoughts?
So I know as a mom, and I know as a daughter of a psychiatric social worker who dealt with children all the time, that the most important thing we can do for our children is to embrace them, to know that they are loved, and to know that there are the adults in their lives that are thinking about them all the time, loving them, and working together to support them. The former policy pitted people against each other rather than bringing people together as a team to support a child. I know, mental health and mental well-being is an unbelievable important priority of this administration. We believe deeply that we need to do more to support all children and to create environments in our schools and out of schools where children feel supported, that they feel like they have access to help. And so this is part of something that we'll be working with a great deal, both on our college campuses and our K-12 system, to make sure that we are prioritizing mental well-being and mental health. And we'll do everything possible for students who are dealing with all kinds of issues, whether it be an issue around their identities or anything else, to support them. But to say that by not having parents engaged in this process will be harmful, I completely disagree with that. And we're very clear in the policy that this is about having parent voice to and parents having its insight, and to have also to offer guidance and approval for students to go into any kind of counseling or to working with teachers. And it's not saying we're not going to do those things. It is saying parents need to have a voice and a role in helping to make those decisions so that they can best support their child.
Okay, your thoughts finally on the new policy, and in it you affirm that teachers are guaranteed religious freedom under the First Amendment and cannot be forced to comply with policies that contradict their personal religious beliefs. The model policies state the following: practices such as compelling others to use preferred pronouns is premised on the ideological belief that gender is a matter of personal choice and subjective experience, not sex. Many Virginians reject this belief. How important is it to you as Secretary of Education and to Governor Youngkin that religious freedoms be respected, not only for the teachers, but for the parents and the students in a public school setting?
So it's vitally important that we respect people's their rights and their individual freedoms, especially religious freedom and freedom of speech. And so, this policy is all about respecting people's rights, the rights of parents, the rights of parents to help make really hard decisions and to be part of that with their child, and also the rights of individuals who, for religious reasons, feel as though that they cannot ascribe to calling someone by a name that's different than their biological sex. And so we are trying to, again, create and support these rights, and at the same time, and while at the same time, also hoping that people will do so with grace, with understanding, with respect, and with dignity for every human being. And that is the goal on this, is how do we treat each other with love, with care, and with support. And I would hope that anyone, any teacher, and all the teachers that I know that are working in a school are going to work with that focus on grace, love, support for students, and to also build that vibrant learning environment in which every single person feels welcome and they feel like that they can be at peace with their own opinions and their own beliefs, religious and otherwise, and at the same time be welcoming of others.
Secretary Aimee Guidera, thank you so much for being here, and we will check in on you later. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for the time. Thank you.